Looking at how much Avengers Endgame's box office beats The Dark Knight's own makes the 2019 MCU movie's financial results even more staggering. 2019's major Marvel blockbuster was naturally a huge deal for the MCU timeline, and remains as such to this day, serving as a testament to what's possible for superhero films in multiple ways. Not only does Avengers Endgame manage to tie together a huge number of stories and arcs into one satisfying movie, but it also broke new ground in terms of its box office results. The sheer magnitude of its success is ever more clear after comparing it to one of the superhero genre's first major box office success stories. It's no secret Avengers Endgame's box office is huge as the biggest movie in the entire MCU, and arguably the entire history of superhero movies altogether. It's no surprise that Avengers Endgame did well financially. If anything, Avengers Endgame did so well that it's hard to ground its box office results in a way that truly puts them in perspective, since its takings are so enormous. Avengers Endgame's worldwide box office came to a colossal $2.7 billion as per the numbers, making it one of the biggest of all time. Indeed, Avengers Endgame's results also bestow upon it the title of the second highest grossing movie in history, coming in at just over $200 million less than Avatar, and its own $2.9 billion results via Box Office Mojo. As such, it's borderline impossible to overstate the significance of Avengers Endgame and the way it demonstrated the financial heights the superhero genre is capable of. That said, comparing the film's box office results to another genre-defining release helps to put things in more context. Comparing the box office of Avengers Endgame to that of The Dark Knight shows just how colossal its results really are. The Dark Knight is still one of the most genre-defining superhero movies released to date. Christian Bale's Batman defined superheroes of all time in a major way, bringing the character and his mythos into the modern day with a more grounded take on the lore that clearly influenced many other superhero films going forward. Unsurprisingly, given Batman Begins established the popularity of this version of the character, and The Dark Knight set up Batman against his most popular nemesis, the Joker, The Dark Knight saw some considerable financial success. In fact, The Dark Knight is the first superhero movie to have surpassed the $1 billion mark, with 2008's The Dark Knight making just over $1 billion in its worldwide box office. As per the numbers and Box Office Mojo, its results were a huge deal for the superhero genre, and foreshadowed 2012's $1+ billion results for The Avengers and The Dark Knight Rises. This makes it all the more interesting to compare with Avengers Endgame. Though The Dark Knight proved that superhero movies could reach these kinds of box office heights, the movie's financial results are still a long way off Avengers Endgame's own. Indeed, when compared directly, Avengers Endgame's worldwide box office is over double The Dark Knight's own. Given The Dark Knight is still to this day one of the superhero genre's highest-grossing films, the fact Endgame's box office is not far off triple the 2008 movie's own puts things in some clear, if somewhat intense, context. While intense, this does make sense given the backdrop behind Endgame's box office managed to be over double The Dark Knight's own. The Dark Knight's box office is still an undeniably huge feat, especially because it paved the way for so many other superhero movies to reach similar heights. However, it's also this exact thing that arguably plays a role in the movie making what it did, and no higher, since the superhero genre's cinematic strength hadn't been tested as much here as it had by Endgame. That said, it's also worth noting that the two movies had substantially different build-up times in their respective series. The Dark Knight was the second installment in Christopher Nolan's Batman trilogy, and as such was only set up by Batman Begins. Comparatively, Endgame had over a decade of MCU build-up, with Avengers Endgame being the finale of sorts of the Infinity Saga, and the culmination of over 20 movies building up to this point in the MCU timeline. It's easy to see how the 2019 movie built such a colossal result. This is especially true given Endgame was a huge movie for all of the MCU's heroes rather than one alone. That same concept would also explain why The Dark Knight Rises made slightly more than The Dark Knight's own box office results, as people were that bit more invested in seeing the conclusion to the trilogy in much the same sense. However, that doesn't stop The Dark Knight from being an important part of superhero movie history, much as Avengers Endgame itself is.